Welcome to São Paulo. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And I would like to say how fantastic for us is to have this meeting here in São Paulo. As probably you know, market economies require a rule of law. A society without a state protection of individual rights, especially the right to own property, is not capable of creating an environment that fosters the formation of long-term private investments, a key ingredient of a growing modern economy. If an excess of rules, as in a central planning economy, can restrain initiative and produce economic stagnation, an absence of legal framework produce chaos, epidemic criminality, and a widespread corruption. The question put for a single society is how to create and how to implement an effective rule of law. On the other hand, technological advance is continually altering the shape and nature of the economic process. As a result, the changing structure of global economy has been shifting the emphasis from a national set of rules to an increased international one. Although this shift may appear unfriendly, perhaps because of the uncertainties associated with it, its impact on law and economy is only beginning to be felt. Moreover than ever, after the 2008 financial crisis, it seems that the leaders of the G20 group recognize that the future economic process and the success of this economy will depend on an efficient and predictable rule of law. The current general challenge is to develop local, global, legal frameworks that foster the growth and the welfare of the economies in an increasingly interdependent world with divergence, but also common interests.
The legal market obviously is constantly changing everywhere in the world. And the legal market in Brazil is no different. The new demands imposed by the market put a lot of pressure on the lawyers, not only on the new entrants, but also on all the existing legal community, and on the law schools that have to prepare professionals adapted to the new market demands. Take the example of a lawyer, for instance, who started law school in 1966. He comes from a family of lawyers, but has still the image of a lawyer as a solo practitioner. He has the opportunity in 1968 to travel around the world for 2 months. He gets an unformatted idea of globalization as something that might occur in the future. He learns very quickly that the profession is starting to move from the solo practitioner model to law firms. He gets graduated in 1971 and decides to take an MBA program because he feels that the law school prepared him to be a litigator or a professor, but has not prepared him to be a corporate business lawyer, which was what he wanted. After getting his MBA, he decides that in order to face the challenges of globalization, he needed to leave and study abroad. He then goes and takes an LLM in the US in 1995-96 and works for the 10th largest US law firm for 1 year. He comes back to Brazil, and in 1978, together with another friend, creates a small corporate law firm. The law firm begins to service a number of foreign clients in addition to Brazilian clients. The firm starts to grow and become a benchmark to other firms, adopting written rules to define the career of its associates and partners, creating industry-focused groups and country practices to better service the clients, and later on, multidisciplinary practice groups. To make a long story short, the firm grew in 35 years from a 2-lawyer boutique firm into a 400-lawyer full-service law firm. As you may have already guessed, this lawyer is the person speaking to you now. It is the person who has had to adapt to a lot of changes in the legal marketplace.
So, the slides will be up any moment. It feels like home, yes, waiting for the slides to show up in front of the audience. So, in group one, we discussed, well, this theme, vanishing borders and the need for a new lawyer, the challenge of global skills. And as you will see from the slides, yeah, okay. We concentrated on identifying skills that would be useful. So we had a discussion also in general of what we mean by global law, what we are doing in our various institutions. So we will put forward a list of skills on which we agreed, some open issues that we want to flag, and then concrete recommendations as to how we could collaborate. And I talked to people in the other groups. I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of overlap between the groups, but we go first. So global legal skills. What did we identify, or what did we discuss? In general, let's say the general type of skills that you would want to give the students in our global law programs would be learning to learn. So students who are able to confront unknown legal systems, unknown issues, and still find their way out, as opposed to what a lot of us do now, which is to learn the law of a specific jurisdiction. It was mentioned also by the participants that it's important that for the global market to give students good research skills for different jurisdictions, because since they might not be equipped with the knowledge of positive law, they will have to find it out. So they will need to be equipped with good research skills. Interdisciplinarity was identified also as an essential element, essential skill for a global legal market. You will see the skills are not exactly in a logical order. It's the order in which we noted them. So while in terms of teaching, everyone converged on the idea that the teaching should move to a different approach, where it's not so much teaching about the law, but rather the policy and the principles level. That's our fifth bullet point. So we need, you see that they're interrelated. It's part of learning to learn. If you know about the law, if you know rather policy and principles underlying the law, then you're in a better position to jump into an unknown situation, an unknown legal system, and find your way out. So the teaching should be pitched at policy principles level so that students learn to learn. But of course, that should come in parallel with a good appreciation of different contexts, so that students are able to realize, well, the context is important. There's more to life than law, than the rules. You have to see in which context they are applied, and context might differ quite a lot between jurisdictions.
Oscar and I tried to make a kind of synthesis, and that allows us to move on to the practical next step. And we identified 5 subjects we would like to raise, or proposals we would like to make. I'm going to read them out, and then if you feel that something is forgotten, then we could add. And then we can just maybe discuss them one by one. First, we need a kind of foundational text, a statement, the constitution of any kind, short, that describes what we are, what we stand for, what we want to aim for. Our practical proposition would be that Oscar and I would try to draft that in the next few weeks and email it, and then you can tear it down and in the fullness of time, but preferably before June, when we meet in Tilburg, we come out with a text that by then will not be 2 pages anymore, but either half a page, either 25, as we all are all lawyers. Second is a proposition to have from now on an annual conference. Next one would then be in Tilburg. If you want this idea of an annual conference, it's an invitation to start who's going to do 2013. And the setup in our view could be one day a meeting like this, in which we speak about league business, and one day an academic conference in which we speak about academic aspects of the globalization of law. And that in turn, each school would organize a conference over the next years. Third, website. We already spoke about that. Fourth, we need some working committees to delve deeper into agenda setting. And at this time we see two, but I'm inclined to act maybe third, potential working groups. At some point, hearing the discussion, I had 9. That's a little bit too much, I think. So we started a group. To put it very roughly, one working committee could be an academic one, which tries to work out the agenda in terms of what globalization means for education and research. For instance, start by inventorizing what globalization is, the different aspects, what the different impacts are on the content of education and on the content of research, not so much on the practical setup. And of course, we need to discuss then maybe the first steps. The second working group I would call practical. And I have assembled basically 4 practical issues we might want to develop in short order. Summer school is 1. Moot court is 2. Joint program, joint LLM is 3. And co-teaching, co-textbooks is 4. Of course, the first committee and the second committee will to some extent feed in one another. A third potential one, but maybe we shouldn't start with everything at the same time, is potentially a committee on the impact of globalization on legal practice and relations to bars and so on and so forth.